Hello, citizens. Welcome to LIW Fear the Walking Dead review. Excuse me. This is episode 174 for 1001 Lines We Cross, our first ever live episode. It's just me. It's just Phoenix West here. I for some reason just randomly went. I feel like doing The Walking Dead, not Fear the Walking Dead, not finishing up that season that I'm on. I think I'm on season 5, and they're on season 7 or some shit. I'm way behind in all of these. I don't care, but I say that every time I come back. It's been a while since I've recorded, blah, 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 all the usual stuff. Season 10, as you see behind me here on the screen, it's on my lovely green screen that's kind of got a little electricity going on through it because it's middle of the fucking day. It's 5 p.m. Anyway, it's been a while. You get to see how the sausage is packed, how the fudge is made. Oh, I fucked those up, didn't I? But you get to see it live for the first time, and it's really just me reading off my notes that I wrote over a year ago, I think, at this point. But I figure season 11 of The Walking Dead is halfway through. I should finish off this series and then get into the feast that is Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead World Beyond, and actually finish up the comic book because I still have 2 chapters of that to go and that I haven't done in a while. So, without further ado, this is Lines We Cross. I had to go back and rewatch the last 2 episodes of last season of season 9 to remember what the fuck happened, and it was the heads on the spikes and all the people who died, which I couldn't remember. And God, if you put a gun to my head right now, I could not name 4 of their names. One of them is Rhett Butler. No idea what her name is. Tammy, I think. Is Tammy one? Did I save my own life right there? We got Tammy, we got Enid, we got Tara, the pregnant lesbian, and then we got those 3 kids. One of them's Carol's kid. There's another kid that's introduced in this episode, not introduced, reintroduced to me, where I'm like, who the fuck is that? I forgot Rick and Michonne had a kid. I completely forgot. It's been that long since I've seen the show. For some reason, though, it starts off with a satellite falling back to Earth, and then the screen says "Training Day," and then it cuts to a tree zombie in the water crawling out, and Judith kills it, and then goes back to the formation where all of the main characters are like in a Spartan formation, like with shields, like archers. They literally have archers. And then they go out and get their arrows and shit, and then they kill all the zombies there. One of them screams. One of the zombies screams when it gets hit in the face with a spear by Alden. I didn't know what the fuck that was all about. Luke and Jules are 2 characters on this show. Luke is Dan Fogler, who's in that new Harry Potter movie. I don't know if he's in the other ones. I haven't seen them. The new, I almost say Crimes of Grimswald. That's like the subtitle. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That's the worst title ever, but he's in that now, and so he's a legit actor. Anyway, they're flirting about some hot dog shaped trophies or some shit for way too long, and they literally go, "I'm flirting with you. I also am flirting with you. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye. Nice flirt. Okay, goodbye." And then that's over. And I'm like, who the fuck is she? I have no idea. There's palm trees and white sand because it keeps cutting back and forth. And I'm like, where the hell are we? Where did they go down to the Caribbean? I don't know what the fuck is happening, where we are, how late this is. Judith is roughly the same age, so we must not have jumped forward in time again. Judith and some other kids they're playing in the sand, and they find like a half of a face in a bucket of sand. So therefore, the next chapter is titled Skin. There's this title for the chapters, which God, I couldn't tell you why there's chapters. I'll get to that later though. This one's called Skin, and it's Michonne and Aaron. They radio to Alexandria that because they found a mask in the sand, they should be cautious. There's a lot of this going on in this episode where it's just, hey, you should be cautious, but not too cautious, but like yellow amount of cautiousness. Yellow sounds good, right? I don't want to go to orange cautiousness because that's dangerously close to red, and I think beyond red is black. You wave the black flag. Luckily, it doesn't go the other way where you're so cautious that it goes back over to white after black, where you don't realize that you're giving up every time. I don't know if the zombies can tell colors or not, or if they knew the meaning of a white flag being waved, but maybe the other people would, like if the saviors were still around. Might not be a good idea. Anyway, Aaron runs off from Michonne, and then he almost dies on a bridge. And Michonne yells at him about almost dying, but not almost dying just because he almost died on a bridge, because Rick died on a bridge, as far as she knows. So she's mad at him for that. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And I was like, Michonne's been wearing the same gray pants for the entire series now. Those things must be disgusting, or she's washing them all the time. But like regular wear and tear of jeans, you gotta, if you don't wash them all the time, the more you wash, the more the less they last. But still, the best pair of pants will not last you through the zombie apocalypse. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. You're doing way too much work, way too much lifting and bending and twisting and stabbing and slicing. Whenever she's doing all her weird samurai bullshit, those pants aren't going to last. And they say, we're done playing nice. I was like, oh, okay. And then the rest of the episode and the next one, they're playing nice. So that meant nothing. It really meant nothing. At this point, I notated that I hate looking at IMDb for names because when I watched this last, I didn't remember their name. So I had to go to IMDb to go, who's this character? Oh, yeah, yeah. And then I saw the alphas in it. I'm like, oh, ruined it. I don't like seeing that someone's going to pop up here in the episode that you haven't seen yet. I like to be caught off guard. But the problem is, I watch this show so infrequently now that I don't remember their names and have to go back. And this time I didn't go to IMDb. I just went back to the episode and watched it. And I was like, okay, that's their name. Now I know his name. Okay. Magna shows my campsite, and the Whisperers were there. And they're just like, what the hell happened here? It reminded me of a scene out of like a, Fallout or Red Dead Redemption game where you're trying to figure out the mystery of this campsite. What the fuck happened? And they never do. So it doesn't pay off in any satisfying way. But they found skin. Great. Back at, I don't fucking know where we are anymore. Alexandria, to say. Judith is telling RJ, and I only know he's RJ because I wrote this in my notes about a year ago, and I was like, oh yeah, Rick Jr. So I reminded myself, my at that time, I reminded my future self about who the fuck that character is, and she's telling him a story about Rick and how he's like he's like the brave man. He fought off the hordes and blew the bridge up to save his friends. Is the brave man have to die? Yeah, motherfucker's dead. Well, to be fair, the bowl cut lesbian girl took him up in an airplane. The trash queen took him up, and then who the fuck knows where that's going? Does anybody care at this point? Suddenly, the satellite enters the atmosphere, and someone yells at Michonne that Eugene's on the radio. And then it goes, bird wisdom. I'm like, okay, we're sticking with this whole chapters, aren't we? Great. The chapters are there only to break up when they're starting that story over so they can end with the satellite entering the atmosphere. That's it. Bird wisdom. Back at Alexandria, Rosita and Eugene are working with a baby, and they're playing like, dun, 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 I think it's the Beatles. Is it the fucking Beatles? The Maxwell Silver Ham? If I'm running a song like that, where it's like ding 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 ding, and it's got it's Eugene writing like 45 inches around from between this knuckle here to the middle of the forearm, and really weird specific lengths that nobody would ever measure on a baby. And he's drawn this little graph. And it's a graph of one baby, so it's like you can only track that baby's growth. So what's the point of doing that? You're not tracking. I didn't see any charts of like previous babies and like the averages for them. It seemed like that was just that one baby, and it was the same kind of parabola going on. So it was like, okay, well, it's still growing at the same rate. Okay, this thing does not account for growth spurts at all. It's just all the exact same growths, no matter when he takes them. I don't know what his charts are for, what his plan is, but Gabriel is sitting there freaked out about something, and we don't find out what it is. I still don't know what it is. I can't tell you what he's freaked out about. Lydia is learning to read with a bunch of like kids half her age, and she gets pissed off, and then they interrupt it because they found the skin. Lydia goes outside. She starts to talk to Negan, and Negan's like, they're gonna come after you. You're the soon it's gonna turn to you because you're not one of them. I'm not one of them. And he's like picking tomatoes and shit. And that's all we get for Negan for then. Siddiq is having like PTSD flashbacks from when he was locked up with the other people who got their head on spikes. He was the only survivor on purpose. And I forgot that his section of last season ends with him doing like a 45-minute speech to the group. And I'm like, I don't fucking care this much about Siddiq. Why am I watching this? I also forgot that he's the baby daddy for Rosita's baby. And Eugene is raising it. I don't care. What are we doing? It's like a soap opera storyline that nobody cares. Not the characters themselves barely care. There's a scene in the last episode in the Storm, I think it's called, where last episode is season 9. It's called The Storm, where he goes. Negan is making fun of Father Gabriel, and he calls him Father, not the Father. And I'm like, was Father Gabriel a part of this? What the fuck? How many baby daddies are there? That woman's rich and baby daddies. It's crazy. Um, he starts freaking out. Dr. Carlson pops out, and they have this really awkward conversation that I think is supposed to be funny, but none of the jokes land, and it's very awkward. And there's like gay panic lines in there. Negan tells Gabriel it's starting, and he's talking about how they're going to turn on them, and he's like, "I'm gonna get the fuck out of here." He's worried that the people are getting too scared. He's like, you gotta put your foot down and let them know that you got this taken care of. There is a satellite over Alexandria again. Blah blah blah. Eugene radios Oceanside, and turns out that's where they were in the beginning with the white sand and the palm trees. I guess somewhere outside of DC, there's white sand and palm trees. What? Where the fuck are they? I still don't know. In the comic, they go to like Ohio or something. Anyway, Sea Dogs is the next chapter. Kelly's hearing is going out, and that scene lasts for 4 seconds, and then Connie looks at Daryl and is like, and so does Connie have a wet vag for Daryl now? I guess we're doing this as if I give a shit. Soon Pirate Carol arrives, and Daryl gives her shit for trying to find the Alpha. I guess she goes out at night and tries to find Alpha, and Carol likes the sea life because she doesn't have to worry about her family members being killed anymore. There's a great scene in third episode, I believe, where she's looking at a home ec book, and she sees all the kids she was trying to take care of dead, and then her standing there. Next segment is called New Mexico, and they show another CGI deer, which looks a lot better than the last one they did when Rick and Michonne were at the weird carnival, and you see that terrible CGI deer, which I want on like a T-shirt. It's so bad. It runs off. It dies on the border. And Daryl is like, "We're not going over there. It's the border." And Carol's like, "Fuck you. We're going over there." And he's like, "It's too late anyway." And the zombies eat it. She goes, "That deer would have fed 200 people." I'm like, "How much meat is in a deer? 200? Really? Damn. I had no idea." Daryl finally tells Carol that she's his best friend. She makes fun of him. And I realize at this point, he talks more in this episode than the entire season as a piss and shit janitor. The entire time he was a piss and shit janitor, he just went, "Get out my lawn, zipper face," or zipper head, whatever. He sounds like Clint Eastwood and Gran Torino in that entire season. They talk about going to New Mexico and starting over and just running away, and then they see the satellite, and I'm like, this better fucking pay off. The satellite doesn't pay off. Doesn't pay off at all. Lines We Cross is the next one, and it's the title of the episode. Wow. The fire from the satellite makes Oceanside go to put it out across the border. They finally say, "Fuck it, we got to go over there. It's going to ruin our hunting grounds," and they'll be happy because we did this. They dig a trench, and they're throwing water and salt on it. Ezekiel's struggling, he's coughing, and I was like, "Is he dying?" And then the dead come up on him in a large herd. They take care of him. The next pointless chapter, this one could have been in the exact same chapter. It's just called Embers. And they're just pointless little plot structures. I remember I did a story in creative writing class in college, and I wrote like each day or something like that. I forget what I did, like Saturday. And my teacher just goes, "These are completely pointless. They don't change anything. Please stop doing this." And I'm like, "Noted. Okay." Like, understood. So when I see that now, I'm like, I don't need a new one called Embers when it's just continuing from the last chapter. It doesn't make any sense. And then they kill the zombies in slow motion. So it literally is just a continuation of what was happening in the previous chapter. Daryl goes, "Ah," and throws an axe, and it hits a tree and falls over exactly on the zombies, like an amazing shot in a video game. It was a crazy shot, Daryl. After the fire is out, Eugene wants the satellite out. He's freaking out. And Luke is the only one who brings up the fact that there could be a lot of radiation around this thing. And I was like, that's all I was thinking this entire time. I'm like, why are they just like the licking this out of the satellite? Like, I wonder what's in there. I don't know. I'm like, that thing's covered in radiation. God damn, leave it alone. Back the fuck away from it. Carol and Daryl are walking around, and they go to the edge of the cliff, and they look out, and this is where I'm glad I rewound and watched the previous episodes, because this is where Alpha shows Daryl there's tens of thousands of zombies out there. This time there's none of them. They look down, and Daryl walks away. Carol looks down and sees Alpha walk out and go, and that's where this one ends. I made fun of a lot of nitpicky stuff, but I did like the episode. Season 9 was good, a lot better than season 7, 8. This one still going strong. Not the greatest episode, but I still gave it a 7. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was solid. Not a lot in it. Once it got past the stupid Spartan training stuff, I liked it a lot more. I didn't need the chapters there, Angela. Angela Kang wrote this one, I believe. I didn't need the chapters. They did not help in any way. Uh, just no. They do that a lot in this show, and I don't know why they do that. Just sometimes it's got to be a all or nothing ordeal with that, or it's a very special episode of The Walking Dead where the zombie gets molested by Rick. It's like, and that's telling a very specific storyline that's not in the general episode types. It's got to be a one off, or it's got to be all of them. And it's like every third, fourth episode in the show. And it's like, why do they do this sometimes? I just don't understand the logic behind it. But that's all I'm going to say about it because I'm running late. And yeah, I got to do my other live show. So I have a feeling I'm not going to get to episode 1002. So I'll just cut this short. You know what? Fuck it. I'll just do episode 1002 right now. Until next time. Oh, LIWstudios.com. Until next time. And in the meantime, I'm Phoenix West. So long, citizens. Turn the camera. The Walking Dead review. Hello, citizens. Sorry, I'm trying to pour a beer here. It's not going so well. Welcome to that show I just said in the pre-recorded intro. This is episode, I don't even fucking know, 175, I believe. For The Walking Dead 1002, We Are the End of the World. I was going to play the looping of We Are the End of the World, We Are the End. But here I am, crunch for time. I'm supposed to be starting my other show, LIW Anthology Series Review with Dick. There's something in the show with my co-host Dick in 5 minutes. So I have 5 minutes now. So We Are the End of the World starts off 7 years ago. There's a woman being eaten after crashing her car. It's young Lydia and Alpha. They're blending in, but Lydia screams. They barely get inside. They go to like 7 different doors. They finally get inside, and then they're met by Jason Voorhees, who lets them stay. And he's like, "No, okay, stay in hallway." That's how he talks. 7 years ago. We're going back and forth between 7 years ago and now. Now, okay, we don't have stupid chapter titles. It's not like, Jason Voorhees, and then 6 years ago, 5. It's not like that. It's just 7 years ago now. 7 years ago now. All right. So Beta is talking to a group, or Beta is taking a group to a building. They use the wisp. I noticed the Whisperers use the little hand signals, like the SWAT team. Like, and he's like, he does. Sorry, he's just saying. He does a little tap on his pants, which you can't see on me. I tend to keep it above nipple level if I can, for your enjoyment. There is a private OnlyFans cam that's below the desk that looks up, and you just see like it's grotesque. It's the angle where you can see my butt cheeks from the front. And it's just like lit up from behind from all this lighting. It's not a flattering angle, but there are some guys who are super into it. And I think they're those guys that ask for feet pictures, And I would gladly send them to them if they want to pay me for them. But so far, nobody's asked me directly for that. But same kind of weird guys. I need to hurry up. I have 3 minutes left. One of the girls starts to stare at the sky. That's it. That's the whole point. They're sisters, I guess. 7 years ago, Alpha washes Lydia, and I know she washes her, but that blood right here never goes away. And then she sees Beta in the hallway, and they agree on they have the same theory on the dead, how it's their world now, and they're the ones that have to adapt to the dead's world, and so on. Cut to now, a woman starts to cry. They're walking around. One of the girls starts to cry. Turns out she was the mother of the baby that they had to leave behind a long time ago, last season. Beta kills 2 walkers to save her, and then he brings her back to camp where he's certain that Alpha's going to kill her. Alpha lets her into her little weird like stick hut, like she's the Blair Witch, and then he lets her in. She's like, yes, my child, and she doesn't kill her. And then Alpha tells Beta to bring Alpha. I'm way the fuck out of myself. I'm skipping over my notes because I'm trying to hurry. Point is, she doesn't kill the bitch and pisses Beta off. 7 years ago, Lydia tells Alpha that she wants to be like her, and then she tells her to stop calling her mama. And I guess they're in an insane asylum. That's what I was starting to notice. And I guess this insane asylum just has a door that you can go, it's open. Wow. It's just that easy to get inside. Cut to now. Alpha makes the girl kneel before her, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't kill her. I already said this. And I already did that note because I skipped ahead. So 7 years ago, Alpha is humming in the hallway again. She stabs a zombie. And then Beta kills a herd. And then he starts, he's clearly got mental issues, and she tells him that he's B and she's A. So there's your Beta and there's your Alpha. They talk about covering themselves to move with the zombies, and the whole time they're sitting there like gutting things and pulling out it's disgusting. Not as disgusting as when, do you remember in the early seasons? I think it was season 1 when they had to cover themselves. They put like ponchos on and they had to cover themselves in guts. That was a little worse, but this is this is off screen, but you just see like, and then they're calm about it, like they're doing nothing. She tries to touch him, but he freaks out and tells her to leave in the morning. The 2 sisters are talking at night, and I wrote on IMDb, are these Gamma and Francis? Because I was confused, because one was just called Gamma. I'm like, they never call her Gamma. And turns out that's a plot point later, so basically could have erased that note ahead of time. But the next day, they're leading herds at each other. They're leading herds at each other when the satellite falls. Okay. I don't know what that means, but the satellite falls, which we saw in the previous episode. And I was just like, their backs must hurt so fucking much, because they're like, I'm like, that's gotta fucking hurt walking like that all day. The one that had one of the zombies has a baby carrier. So the one that had to give up her baby freaks out, takes off her mask, tackles Alpha, and then her sister runs over and then throws her off of Alpha, and she gets eaten. Alpha's not Alpha, obviously. Alpha's fine. And then we see that Beta sees her weakness again. Alpha questions Gamma, who I'm calling Gamma now, because that's Thora Birch, because I saw her without a mask here, about the bravery it took to give up her sister. And she's like, I had to do anything to protect Alpha. I had to protect my Alpha. And Beta questions how she can be so calm after all this chaos. Alpha goes out and does a little ceremony where she dubs Thora Birch as Gamma. And they all chant to Gamma, to Gamma, to Gamma. And I'm like, how many are there? I want to know, because I've only seen Alpha, Beta, and Gamma so far. I want to know how many there are with names. Are you going full? I hope they go Zed. Man, not Zeta, but Zed. I hope they just say Zed. That would please me. 7 years ago, Alpha hears the dead and goes to see Lydia by name. And she calls her name out. And I'm like, clearly her anachronisms are evident even back then. She sees a photo of Beta with a face scratched out and another face scratched out. And the other person besides Beta is wearing the shirt that's like, the smile more or whatever it is, and the smiley face on it. Same thing that he has in Forrest Gump. And I realized earlier in the 7 years later, in the now timeline, he's wearing that shirt below his outfit. So that's someone that's important to him. Also, the music will tell you that is important. It's like, "Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Oh, you should care about this picture. It's deep. Yeah, yeah." It didn't sound like that, but it might as well have. So I noticed there's like a little blending here of themes with the 7 years ago and now, because Alpha invades Beta space then. Now Beta walks up and goes into Alpha space because she built like a little bedroom for Lydia, and he's like, "You said she's gone. You're weak." Blah blah blah. And 7 years ago, they show that Alpha kills the guy in the photo, the guy or girl in the photo with the smiley face shirt, and he freaks out, and then she calms him down. Um, Alpha freaks out in the now timeline, starts smashing Lydia's little shrine, and Beta just stares at her. And the flashback is reversed and Lydia has to calm Beta down. Beta keeps repeating the line that he wrote all over the walls. "I am the end of the world. I am the end of the world." And she's like, "It's we are the end of the world. We are the end of the world." And that's when you get that little thing I was going to play in the beginning that I'm too lazy to do now. I am 3 minutes over. Then she gives him a knife to remove his friend's face with, or his wife's face, or whoever the fuck she is. And the last thing I have is the now timeline. Beta says he saw smoke on the border, and Alpha wants to teach them a lesson for crossing. And then we see Alpha come out, and she looks up, and we see she sees Carol. And it's ending of the last episode, which they do a lot too, is they tell a story. The next episode is that story ends in the same spot. They did that one time like 3 times, where 3 different things end in the exact same moment, and I was like, "Fuck you!" Oh, I think it was season 6 or something like that. Is it the one with like the stupid black and white bullshit? They do a bunch of pretentious bullshit in the show sometimes, and that doesn't bother me here because it's fine, because they also told the backstory, so you got a little bit more going on. But really, it's just kind of a pointless episode. But I also enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the Whisperers and not seeing our group. So I did give this one an 8. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I also have seen episode 1003 Ghosts. I watched it again yesterday, only halfway through though, so I'll finish that up and get to that next time. I just started doing the maybe I'll do them before my live shows on Saturdays, and just have that to do, and that way I'll force myself to get through these seasons because I don't know when else to do it. So anyway, that's the end of this episode. So LIWstudios.com. Check out the live shows. For instance, we do on Tuesdays LIW the Twilight Zone review. On Saturdays, LIW Anthology Series review, and then we sometimes do Nick Cage Cast or B Movie Battle, one of those. John Carpenter review, one of those. We're kind of Saturdays are kind of loosey goosey. Today, for instance, we're doing 2 anthology series. One of them's Beyond Belief, the other one's One Step Beyond. We're about to do that here in a minute. I'm 4 minutes over, and I apologize, but go to liwstudios.com. There's a live episode schedule. You can see exactly what we're doing when we're doing it. These will not be on the live schedules, these Walking Deads, because they're going to be random. I don't know. I have 0 plans. I'm just winging it right now. Fuck it. Until next time, in the meantime, I'm Phoenix West. So long, citizens. So long, Alpha, Gamma, and also you, Beta. I'm looking at you. Bye-bye.